Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Never Thirst Again. I'm your podcast host, Chrissy Smith, and I am so excited to get started today. To begin with, I hope you guys had an amazing weekend because mine was pretty sweet for the most part. And to be honest, it was really super busy all of last week. And when Friday finally rolled around, really the only thing I wanted to do was climb into my bed and watch TV for a few minutes. But goodness, all I could think about was really just falling asleep. And usually I'm not one of those people who do fall asleep with my mouth wide open. But let's just say that would let you know exactly how tired I was in that moment. I mean, if I could only have gotten just a few extra hours of sleep, I would have been so much more refreshed and well rested. But it didn't exactly happen that way this weekend. On Saturday morning, my husband woke up around 8 o'clock a.m. because he really wanted us to have a date breakfast. And now I know, a date breakfast sounds a little weird, but hey, when you're busy all the time and you have 3 kids and you've been married for a while, you really try to get that in whenever you can fit it in. So usually I'm one of those people who enjoy a really good impromptu date without the kids. But again, I was so tired. I just was not in that headspace on Saturday morning. Nevertheless, though, he was persistent. So I got up and I got dressed anyway. And while the kids were still asleep, we left them a note and we just made our way to the local Starbucks cafe around the corner, which is great. They always have amazing service. Now, when we got there, we seemed to be the only ones in the cafe. So after placing our orders, we picked a small table with 2 chairs and we sat by the window. Now, to be honest, it seemed like we made it in there just in time before the morning work crowd came through. After that, it just got super busy. So when that happened, I actually sat there watching the barista just mixing together deliciously flavored coffees and health drinks. But oh goodness, my mouth did not start really watering until she pulled all the warm blueberry muffins out of the oven. And all I can say is just the smell wafting through the cafe was just amazing. Absolutely amazing. But you know what? I digress. My mouth is watering a little bit now as I think back on it. But again, I digress. On that morning, we had ordered about 5 items from the menu, 4 of which we had already received. But we were waiting for about an extra 20 minutes or so until we realized, we have not gotten our last item. So I decided to go up to the front of the line and I told the girl behind the register, who was really sweet and super apologetic, that we were still waiting. Well, after she did a little bit of research, she did find out that they had accidentally placed my item in someone else's bag. Not really a big deal, but she had said, "Ma'am, I'm so sorry about that. I'd be happy to get you a fresh one right now." So, I just told her, sure, not a problem at all. These things happen. I'll just go back to my table and wait until the new one is ready. So great, I did. I went right back to the table and I must have sat there for about maybe 2 or 3 minutes or so when she came walking back over to the table with a piping hot Gouda, bacon, and egg sandwich. Another one of my faves whenever I go to Starbucks, right? Well, do you want to know what she said when she came over to the table? She was so sweet. She said, "Here you go, ma'am. Again, I'm so sorry about your order, but listen, you guys have been so patient and so nice. I just wanted to give you a Starbucks redemption card to use on a future purchase. And you can use it towards anything you like." And so, I thought that was pretty cool, Starbucks redemption card. So obviously, I thanked her, and after that, Kelvin and I actually ended up having a really nice time that morning, just sitting at our little private table, looking out the window, people watching, talking, laughing, just taking that time to enjoy one another. Now, after we left there, we must have gone about 5 or 6 other places before we officially came back home. But after being out all day and finally being able to crawl in the bed later on in the evening, I picked up the Starbucks redemption card that was sitting on the nightstand, and I twirled it around in my fingers for a few moments. Then I started thinking to myself, they could have called this card anything else. They could have called it a discount card or a coupon card, but instead they decided to call this a redemption card and said to use it towards anything else on the menu for a future purchase. I thought about how in that moment, God was again reminding me of how awesome He is. Full redemption is something that we were only able to really experience because of His Son, Jesus. No longer being tied to the acts of having to atone for our sins, but instead accepting Jesus and realizing that He's already redeemed us of all of our sins, past, present, and future, is just something that I thought was so amazing within itself, right? So this whole Starbucks thing was just another lesson on redemption and what that looks like. When I was sitting there in Starbucks waiting for something that I would have never even received unless I had said something, that was just a tiny example of that. I could have gotten upset and demanded a refund or yelled or asked what in the world was taking my order so long. But first of all, that's not my style. And secondly, if you remember during my podcast last week, I spoke about what it looks like to give people grace when things like this happen, right? This was simply a mistake that anyone could have made just by the sheer act of accidentally placing something in the wrong bag. However, not only did this sweet girl behind the counter apologize, but she gave me a redemption card. It's the same way that, when we do go to God and we are absolutely in a state of going to Him with asking for forgiveness. He forgives us for those things that we are connecting with Him with, in our hearts. If we are truly genuine about what we're saying, He absolutely forgives us. And, again, He redeems us in that moment, and also for the past and for the future. It just is mind-boggling how someone could love you just that much, right? So I'm so thankful for just receiving that gentle reminder for the day that God gives us an opportunity to find Him in all things big and small. And it turns out this was one of those times that He created specifically for me. So guys, there you have it. That is actually all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed the Saturday redemption story at Starbucks. And I do appreciate you guys for joining in. So I do want to add one other thing though. Don't forget to subscribe to Never Thirst Again through Podbean, Spotify, and even Apple Podcasts. Again, I appreciate you so much. Take care and God bless. Bye.